Good deal. Good morning, everyone. Sorry for a little delay, but let's stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Under the agenda, we'll remove auditor treasurer. It's because we have no license to approve. And then just a note under county administrator, item number 6, we'll move that to 10 o'clock because Tessa is available at that time. Any other additions or corrections?
Mr. Chair, you said to remove.
Auditor treasurer.
Auditor treasurer, it says just auditor treasurer license
Okay.
There are no.
at 940 there.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to remove find it on my list here. Oh, it's not on this agenda. Okay. I thought it was on our agenda. I was going to remove the AMC delegate. I thought that was on our agenda, but it's in our packet, but that was moved on our last meeting, so.
Yeah.
Well, and it's also, just to respond to Commissioner Nelson, it is also on our committee list too. It's, the delegates are on there too.
They were approved in our last meeting.
Other changes? Not? Motion to approve?
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda.
Motion by Dave, a second.
Second.
By Erica. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Minutes of our January 2nd meeting.
I had one under, right away, under the election of the board chair. It should be, it says 202, it should be 2024. I think that's all I found.
The only other thing that I had was under human services, when we authorized the purchase of a vehicle, I thought that there was a dollar amount to it, that whatever the dollar amount was that was presented. I don't recall what it was, 38,000, I think, or 34,
I thought there was
36.
a limit, 30,
There was a limit,
It was
yes.
an up to.
up to 35.
I think
Yeah.
Commissioner Nelson made the motion. Yeah, I think it was 35.
So
yeah.
I was just thinking we should put that dollar amount in the
Yeah.
minutes.
And it was final approval by Human Service Committee.
Correct. Any other corrections?
Yes, I had on page 1 of 5, number 4 under regular business. The word amended in there should probably just read until February 6th meeting. It wasn't amended, and it would just or call for earlier if needed. It was not a motion to amend. It was a friendly amendment, so it doesn't need to be mentioned in there. Then under page 2, under appointments, motion to appoint Tony Nistler to Corner Lakes Watershed it should be noted that was Lyle Hansen's position that he resigned from, so to fill that position. Page 3 of 5 under EDA, I think the motion second to approve the housing management contract with MMCDC should state that it's a 1-year contract and the dollar amount. And then probably clarify under veteran services that the donation was for veterans for the tokens for Becker County Transit. And that was it.
Donations for new municipality. 100 Becker County.
Those are specified for veterans on transit.
Mm-hmm. No, I was just reading. It is a little wordy.
That was all I had.
Anything else? Hearing none, a motion to approve the minutes as amended.
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion to approve the January 2nd minutes.
Motion by Barry,
I'll second.
second by Eric. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Carried.
Mr. Chair, I don't see anything on the December 22nd minutes, so I'll offer a motion to approve.
I'll second.
Motion by Barry, second by Erica. All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? Carried. Consent agenda. Anybody have anything there that they'd want to pull? That's pretty much standard. Hearing none, motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I'll second.
Motion by Erica, second by Dave. Further discussion? Not, all in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Carried. On to open forum. Nate, is there anybody on there? Thank you. Karen, you're on here, but we'll wait till your agenda. Mackenzie Ham, she's with you. Okay. Brian McDonald.
Good morning, Mr. Chair and Commission. This morning, I just wanted to briefly introduce our new county law librarian, Josh Haugen. Bill Wilson has resigned late last year Bill Wilson resigned late last year after more than a decade of service, so I just want to introduce Josh, and I'm hoping to get Bill back here to recognize him in the very near future. So.
Hi, good morning, all. My name is Josh Haugen. I've been an attorney here in Becker County for, like 12 years or so, I suppose. My office is actually right across the street. Anyway, I'm looking forward to taking over for Bill. I know he's done a wonderful job here, and so they're big shoes to fill, but hopefully I can do it.
Thank you.
Any questions for Josh?
No, I do serve on the law library committee.
Excellent, yeah, I saw your name on the
Be seeing you there.
approval.
So,
Okay.
thank you.
Welcome.
Yeah,
Thank
thank you, Josh.
Thank you, Josh.
Thank you.
Brian, state your name and address. And
My name is Brian Alstein. I live at 1041 Timber Drive in Detroit Lakes. Thank you, Commissioners, for the opportunity with the open forum. I was in attendance of the January 2nd Commission meeting, and I was concerned to see how County Administrator Pat Ullman was treated during the discussion about the job review. It's normal in somebody's career to look for other job opportunities. That's something that happens pretty much in everybody's career, and it's expected. And the question to an employee of are you looking for other work? Have you signed a contract? Is to me improper. I can't imagine in my prior employment experience an employer coming to me and asking me that question. That just does not seem correct. The second thing is the move to table the job review was inexplicable to me. I don't understand why that was done, and the move to do that is hostile in my view. It shouldn't have been done. It looks like a disruption to an employee's life. That's the only thing I can come up with why that was done. It is my belief that the board owes Mr. Ullman an apology. Thank you.
thank you. Anybody else to speak to open forum that didn't have a chance to sign in? Hearing none, thank you. Moving on to reports and correspondence.
I can go first. I had a couple of meetings the last couple of weeks. One was with Human Services. Most of the stuff that we discussed is was in the consent agenda, but we also had a lot of discussions about some safety concerns that they have over at Human Services as far as they've received some threats from outside clients. So we had some discussions of what we can do to make the building a little safer. So that will more to come with that. Also had a housing subcommittee. We continue to look into the local, establishing a local housing trust. Continue to have talk with legislators regarding the Merle program in hopes of being able to use some of that funding that we have, that we've received back from the Merle program. And then we just continue to explore options with availability for land to build, potentially build some multi-family housing in area communities. So that's all I have for reports.
I'll go next. I had a RAC meeting, or John and I are in the committee, you were unable to. Anyway,
I didn't get an invite.
oh, didn't you get an invite?
No.
What,
I
really?
talked to Mitch about it, but
That's interesting, oh, okay. Well,
wasn't on my
yeah,
calendar.
that would be why, yeah. So we're gonna go through the Becker County Recreation Plan. It hasn't been gone through since 2011, so one of the things that we are going to do before our next meeting, each person's gonna look through it and have any things that they think need to be changed, updated, or looked at, or whatever. The Dutton Lock Shelter is scheduled to be completed by this fall. So hopefully that goes and happens and gets done. And then at Wanigan Park, it's now turned over to the City of Frazee. And they're also working on more grants to do more things at Wanigan Park. So that's the next plan. But the City of Frazee now is officially the owner of Wanigan Park. And then we kind of, as a group last meeting, decided we want to work on improving and establishing more primitive campsites in Becker County. More specifically right away at Chilton Park. That seems to be an inexpensive and an easy thing to do. So that's kind of why we kind of looked at that. But then we also want to maybe have a DNR person come in and meet with our committee and talk about how they set up the sites and manage the sites, because they have some, and then they would know what to do. So maybe that would be we thought that might be a good plan. And then the last thing that we talked about was the community feels really strongly about parks and recreation in Becker County. And I know the board used to support Parks and Rec with by putting it in the budget every year. I think I don't know, maybe 2-3 years ago it ended. You guys could probably tell me more than that. And I don't know for sure. But we kind of decided that if they're going to move forward with doing some of these projects, they need to have support from the board. And I think we support it, but we have to show our support and maybe budget some money yearly that go into their fund so they can do some of these projects. We just need to think about that a little bit.
Some of these projects they're in the Parks and Rec fund. I mean,
yes, correct.
They're designated, so.
Some of them are designated, yes.
So those designated funds, not that they're at their complete disposal, but they are available for projects, so.
Yes, that is correct, yeah. And then we all had a compensation planning and zoning meeting, and I felt it went really well. I think we got a lot accomplished. We are going to look through the goals, and that's another thing the RAC committee is going to do. There's a couple goals in there that apply to them, and they're going to have any ideas. We're going to hold a John or I if they had any ideas for that, so that we could get them to Kyle. So and I had Human Services there, but she talked about everything in that. So I'm done.
Thank you. Barry?
Just reflecting back on the comp and class or the comprehensive zoning study, I would like to, after thinking about the Airbnb, I would like to dive into that a little bit more. I mean, I know they're going to bring back some options, but I think there should be, we need to look at that a little bit more restrictive than what we were. I mean, not anything significant, but I think there just needs to be a little bit more review on that. I'm not satisfied with where we ended that discussion. So when we move forward, I'd like to look at that one a little bit deeper. John and I had sheriffs. We had most of the stuff's on our agenda. One thing we're looking at is a floor scrubber, and we've got some quotes, but I thought there'd be some availability for some lower quotes. So they're looking for some of those. I don't know if I didn't see any of that on the agenda. Also looking for, that's on the agenda, the lights for the airboat. The airboat has to have, if you're out on the water with a rescue boat, you have to have blue and red lights flashing. Otherwise, other boats can approach. So that was one of the reasons. I was thinking we probably didn't need this many lights, but when they stated that by law that you have to have blue and red flashing or you can't just direct other people away from that area.
Part of that too, Barry, was good LED running lights, because right now the lights that are on there are pretty poor in there.
Yeah, if you're doing a search and rescue, our lights are inadequate for that, so. Anything else to add to jail or for Sheriff's Committee, John? Went to MRC. One of the things that they talked about we need to do, and probably talk to Jim over at our engineers, is to have a public website for a public drainage. I see we have wild rice reps here, so that's something they encourage, because right now there's drainage law being reviewed, and the proposals aren't as favorable to the ag people as we'd like them to be. That ag group has, or that work group has not come to consensus. That was a work group with commissioners and environmentalists, and it was a pretty good sized working group. And the environmentalists, I think, just kind of left the meeting. They didn't want to participate anymore because they thought they could get the law changed without consensus there. So that is a concern. One of the things is this portal that they want, that one of the disagreements, they want the portal to be that every drainage thing has to be in this portal, and you have to, I mean, it's pretty significant. And most of it's done, and it's not a big deal, and the A groups have, and commissioners agreed to that. We'd like it to be set up in one portal, and just give it to the DNR or Bowser and let them notice it. But everyone knows the difficulty in working with groups that don't want any drainage done. They just soon everything back up and form potholes everywhere again. So it's a very difficult, and unfortunately they have pretty good numbers in the legislature. Hopefully the Senate is a little bit more forgiving, or not forgiving, but more realistic in the approach of drainage. So that was one of the big discussions on AMC, is the drainage. Moving on to extension, we have our awards committee. So Becker County Ag Awards, if anyone, commissioners have any suggestions for Ag Awards, get them to me today. We have a meeting tomorrow to look at possible candidates for some of those awards. And the comp plan is the only other meeting I had, so.
I had highway with John. Pretty much everything is on the agenda, but we are looking for 3 seasonal employees, Jerry, and 1 full-time mechanic. Our mechanic is retired. So, but that's about everything else is on the agenda here.
Yeah, I believe we got the brush chipper for take big logs coming on, seasonal quest. Also the 2 grant requests the county will be putting in for the County State 8 Highway 7 in Lake Park, right through town. A lot of it has to do with sidewalk, get them handicapped accessible. The estimate on just that work is about $1 million. So, and then also one for City of Frazee, about the same thing. But Jim will be presenting those. And I believe it's in here, looking at the Osage shop lighting replacement. I think when we were on our tour, we saw how bad those lights were in there. They're going to go to all LED, and I suggested with the changeover to get a hold of Itasca Mantrap and see if there's some rebates going all LED in there. So Highway's going to check on that. You want to just mention the trailers for environmental?
Environmental. So we're looking at purchasing one of BM's old trailers that they had. Those trailers are really hard to find, and we're gonna need one more probably. So me and Dean went out and looked at it. It's actually in pretty good shape, so they're gonna throw in a new tarp for it. I guess the new one is $130,000. What's that one, John? 29? Was it 29? What was it?
I think it's 29 with the
29 with the
Yeah.
tarp, and
So-
and it's lined too.
Yeah, and it's quite a savings for that used trailer, and so that's something we're looking to get for the landfill.
We did have the liners. I thought we had to kind of approve those when we purchased the new ones to go in there to protect them, but apparently it wasn't, so we're gonna add those to the trailers. We got some quotes on that, so.
And they are a big deal. We got brand new trailers with no liners, and I thought we were getting the liners. That was my understanding too. We didn't get them, but we do need to get them in there because there's a lot of nasty stuff loaded in those trailers, and those liners really protect the side of that trailer. So, yeah, I don't know what happened there. I thought that was part of it, but
Anything else?
no.
Mr. Chair, before we move on, a couple things left on. I had a email about the Fair Board. Fair Board has some discussions that the cities put a proposal in to them about parking arrangements or parking contract. My suggestion was to not sign that. I think it was a contract forwarded to me, and I looked at it briefly and just thought that was probably not in the best interest of the Fair Board. I just think that, I don't know, there was a payment on that, but I don't think the payment was sufficient enough to warrant that type of commitment. Just thought I'd let you know they're looking for, input from us, but that was my input. And the other thing is I got an email about the Lake Sally proposal, and when is that coming before?
February 6th. I got a call from Kyle yesterday. They just heard back from the township attorney late Friday afternoon on clarification. And the way it sounds, and Kyle will probably bring this up, that the CUP will come back to the county board to act on. The subdivision portion goes to the township.
Okay. I didn't know the answer, and I had an email question where it is, so.
I talked to the landowner that was concerned right there. And they did notify him that it'd be delayed till the 6th, so.
Okay.
At that time, so. As far as the conditional use coming back here. So, anything else?
No.
I had another committee meeting, the Northwest Emergency Communication Board, and I guess I wasn't aware of it, but when our dispatch consoles go off warranty, MnDOT kind of takes care of the overseeing and to make sure they're up to date and stuff. And there's a charge with that. It could be from $1,000 to $4,000 a year, something like that, depending on the number of consoles. So I probably wasn't aware of that. We probably see the billing come through, but I think most of ours are probably about off warranty. Yeah. So, and then the communication boards are looking at the 911 fund by region and statewide. There's quite a bit of money unallocated that sits in that fund that the state, it's very hard to get some funds out of there. And they're looking at probably trying to reallocate that out to the districts more so it can be used. I think we all know that our 911 funding comes everything that can receive a signal through a phone over the air, like a phone, iPad, some computers. Oh, they're all charged at 80 cents a month for that, and that's where the funds come from. And I think a couple of years ago, there was a little talk about reducing that, but I think the communication board's got enough push in there to keep it at where it is, because there's a lot of things to be maintained out there with that 911 system on a county level, so it really helps us out. So that's about all I have.
I know that was something we had talked about at one of our AMC meetings too, that the legislation would actually like to see that increased so that we could get the 911 system updated or upgraded so that it can be statewide with cell phones. Because right now it's all just, residential, so.
Yeah, they're working on a lot of stuff, but there's a lot of, I forget how many millions they said was in that unallocated fund that just sitting there, so. Great to get it out to the regions and the county, so. Anything else on report? Reports of correspondence? Appointments? EDA District 1 and 5.
Yeah, Chair, I had Cody, was he in here?
Yep, he's right there.
There he is. You want to come up with your permission? Yeah.
You see him sitting back there.
We do have some expirations for two of the appointments, and I thought, if you could have just to talk to you about it, what the bylaws say. And what
Yeah,
they
I
get
guess.
advertised. Go
I
ahead.
guess kind of to clarify that, I think I sent out an email if you received it or not, but we did discover in the EDA minutes that the appointments are done at the annual meeting in 2023. So we would be filled for the terms right now. But if I want to proceed with that.
Your mic on?
Yep.
So is there, if I could, Chair, are these appointments, these current appointments expired? Or the action will be at the annual meeting that will be brought to the board?
They
What's the
did
step?
expire, but they were reappointed in
Okay.
2023, annual meeting of 2023,
And
for
when,
those two districts, so.
and when do they expire? 2025, right? Or did they
Um,
expire this year?
No, they would be full terms, so they're 6-year terms.
Okay.
In the bylaws. So the next appointments coming up for that would be in 2025 in District 3 and 4, I believe.
Okay.
Yep, so
So everything's okay.
everything's okay. Yep,
Right.
everything's full.
Just one follow-up question then, do those come to the board, or is it strictly an EDA action item that they vote on at the annual meeting?
They would be, yeah, we would need to bring it to the board.
We would not bring it to the board? Okay.
No, it's-
All right, I want to make sure the board heard that,
Yeah.
so, because a lot of
Okay.
times it's in your district, you appoint people, or at least recommend to appoint people, and want to make sure they heard that.
I'm confused then, who makes the appointment?
The commissioner would make the appointment, yeah, but it was made, you and Erica made the appointments in 2023 for those districts.
For the upcoming, for 24 and
To
beyond?
renew their appointments, basically.
Okay, I know I talked to Abby and she was fine with it, like, that's what I was,
Yeah,
like,
so
didn't we do that? But,
It's already in the minutes, it's already been done.
and
in
it's
20
appointed at this board.
Yes, right. So the terms are filled and they're, the next available appointments would be in 2025 for different districts,
Appointed at this board or the EDA board?
appointed at this board.
Okay.
Okay, I was thinking, I heard
But-
EDA.
That's what I thought too. I was like,
But they have to be appointed before the annual meeting of EDA.
That's when they're done, so they coincide with the annual meeting when they do the appointments of the chairs, vice chair and that sort of
Okay.
thing. So that's when they were done, but it didn't reflect in the current schedule. But after auditing the minutes and stuff, we discovered that it was taken care of in 2023, so sorry for any confusion.
Yeah. Thanks, Cody.
Thanks, Woody.
thanks, Cody.
Wild Rice Watershed Management Appointment. Dwayne, you got any comments?
I think at the last meeting, I just encouraged you to get your ability to appoint someone, but I think we've ran out of time. That doesn't mean you need to quit. And I mentioned at the last time that I don't have a problem with what you decide, meaning maybe there's somebody younger, smarter, but I'm willing to do it again for another 3 years with your wishes. So whatever you want to go from there with. I guess, to move the process along, I'm volunteering to be a candidate.
When is that appointment due? I mean, should we do it today or do you want to?
That's entirely up to you. I think, Pat, you can help with that.
Yeah, on page 43 of the packet, we received a memo from the Clay County Administrator on January 2nd. It indicated that they would like to reappoint on March 12th of 2024. So we would want to give some communication to the Clay County Board if we have a recommendation. Oh, there it is. And I had spoke with Dwayne, you had indicated to me as well that you'd be willing to.
I'd be willing to be, to do it
Yeah.
if you guys so wish.
Well, we may as well do it today. I'll make a motion to nominate and appoint Dwayne Erickson for the Wild Rice Watershed Board and forward our nomination to Clay County.
I'll second that.
Motion by Barry, a second by Richard to appoint Dwayne to the Watershed Board. Further questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Thank you, Dwayne.
Thanks, Dwayne.
I welcome questions.
Okay.
Well, I thought you brought the younger version of you with you, so.
Okay. Well, And I think Kim, this is Kim Severson, and well, of course, you know Jerry, but I mean, I think, I'm no stranger, and I want agriculture to be a key thing for Becker County, Clay County, and where we're at, so that's what I support. You know, and you made me listen, but when Bowser and the DNR come along, we need to have some pushback a little bit to put some more common sense into some of these regulations.
And sometimes it's not even them, it's the environmental groups that are so extreme that you can't, there's no reasoning. They will not reason. They'll come to a table and they say, this is what we want, and we don't want any drainage improvements, and that's it. And then you're supposed to compromise with that? I mean, there's no compromise. It's
challenging.
And, yeah. So, and, you know, this drainage work group is formed by, you know, Farm Bureau's representative, farm groups, and commissioners, and the environmental groups, and they walked away from the meeting, the environmental groups, and just said, no, we're at an impasse.
And these guys that I know, they're not bashful at telling me where I screwed up, and I like that, okay? Anyway, I'll do my best.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thanks.
Dwayne.
And I think, Pat, was it March, I'm supposed to be interviewed
March 12th, yes.
March 12th.
Yeah, but
I'll be there.
I'll communicate with the board's permission to Clay County Administrator that the board has made a motion to the effect that they're looking to reappoint you.
Great. Now, we're moving the ball down the road and we're ready.
Okay.
So we got to cross my fingers that I don't get kicked out of that board. Okay, thanks.
Thank you, Dwayne. We on committee assignments. I think it is in the board packet, and even another copy. Mainly change I'd be going on the Fair Board Committee with Meyer. Human Services changed Barbara Meyer, and I'd be going off the other large committee, Sheriff's Committee, and Erica would be going on there. That'd be the only changes, and then the new one is Commissioner Meyer on Lakes County Services Co-op that you got appointed to.
Yeah.
I just have a question, because it makes no sense to me that I'm taken off of the Human Services Committee. I mean, that's what I know. We really should have our committees according to our strengths, and it makes about as much sense as if we would ever take you off of the highway. So that's, I guess I'm just questioning a little bit about the reason for that.
I think, you know, to start with, get moved around to some of the other three large committees.
Mm-hmm.
So if I'm not here in a year or two,
Mm-hmm.
that some other people can step in.
Mm-hmm.
And Richard has served on that before for several years, so that's my recommendation, and I think it's just good to get some separation and somebody else in that position too. So.
Mr. Chair, you know, you've been on highway since you've been a commissioner, is that correct?
That is correct.
I mean, I fought for you to be on that, you know, because there was kind of the same discussion. I don't have a problem with moving around people on different committees, I think, but when you have your strength, Erica is on our state committee representing us. I think she could do very well for us, and Human Services at, you know, maybe she could be at a national level someday too. So I question that move. I think her strength, her knowledge in Human Services is too great to just overlook.
But she is also very involved with Human Services in her election and the union over there. And well, it's just true, Erica. And so there's a conflict of interest there, Barry, and there just is. And so, you know, if
Have I made any decisions on the Human Services Committee that would make you doubt my ability to be?
Absolutely. Right away, when you first got elected, you tried to take punishment away from two
I did not try
services.
to,
No, you did,
I did not
Erica.
try to
We were
take
all
punishment
here.
away, Richard.
We were all here.
I questioned whether we should go to I questioned
You questioned something
bringing the
that was,
arbitration to the board instead of spending thousands of dollars on arbitration without the board approval. That's what I questioned.
the punishment was all done. It was all investigated. It was all done, and you tried to bring it back up. And one of them employees did that to me over there. And I told that employee, absolutely not. That's not my place to get involved with the supervisors at Human Services. They made the decisions, the employees broke the rules, they were punished, and then you brought it back up again. And that's why I think it is a conflict of interest, because we're not supposed to be getting involved in that. There's a whole machine here. And when commissioners start sticking their fingers
We
in,
don't ever get involved in employee stuff, Richard?
Erica, I learned right away, Mr. Ullman
I think
explained
we
to
need
me
to
right
move on.
away. Well, that's my comment, so.
Okay. Just to refer to Commissioner Nelson's comment of myself being on highway, actually coming from there, but one thing I didn't, right from the get-go, I didn't get involved with employee issues over there. And since then, I think there's very few employees left over there that I worked with. So I don't get involved in their, if there's an issue that comes to me, I turn it over to their supervisors and department heads to take care of. So I've always tried to stay away from individual employee issues.
I also have not gotten involved in individual employees, despite what you guys think and wherever you're getting information from. If an employee has come to me, I have told them to follow the chain of command and go to their supervisor. If their supervisor does not listen, they go to Denise. If Denise does not listen, they go to Pat. I have not interfered in any way.
Well, you brought it to a closed session. We were all here.
Because I questioned us going to
That's getting
arbitration.
involved in it. And that's not your place.
Okay.
Because I questioned the amount of money the county was going to spend on it.
Not because they all knocked on doors for you and went all
No,
over the
that is
county
not
for you. It
why.
had nothing to do with it.
That is not
Okay.
why.
I would like to try this committee assignment for a year, and a year down the road, if it's not working, we can switch, somebody else can switch it back.
Chair, could I offer something? There's been no suggestion that any was in conflict. There's nothing to that I've heard. I would say that these committees are advisory committees. At least that's my experience when you have committees. Although we don't have any bylaws for these committees or any rules, it might have some value and it might give people a comfort level if we, let's say for each committee, whereas the Sheriff Committee or Human Service Committee, we kind of state what it is. It's an advisory committee made up of two commissioners. Recommendations are made to the board in the process. Maybe that'll give everyone a comfort level. The other thing I was just going to offer to the board is, there's still an opportunity to revisit, doing a committee of the whole approach. I think the one, and again, without eliminating committees, but allow all five of you to be at the table when something's being brought to the board. And in fact, I remember, Commissioner Jepson saying that I'd like to learn a little bit more about the Sheriff Committee because I'm not a part of that committee, and a committee of the whole approach, all five of you would be there. So I just kind of bring up those ideas that I'd brought up in the past, but it might be helpful, like I said, for these committees to maybe have a little language that goes with each one of them, because I think there can be some confusion on what the role the board has in that committee.
Mr. Chair, I'd also like to address a couple other committees, the Becker County Children's Initiative that Richard's on. I don't know if you want to be on that committee or if you would like to remove some of those committees that you don't have interest in. I mean, I don't need it, but I think they want.
Sure have it, Barry.
They want representation from the board, and I think we should at least, or put two commissioners on a couple of those committees where your interest doesn't lie, you're not attending those.
Yeah, you go ahead and get on there. That'd be great.
I think the point is just if we have commissioners that are on committees, but they're not going to attend the meetings, we should replace them with commissioners that want to be on those committees.
Yeah, absolutely.
Barry,
A couple other,
Erica, just on that question there, Would either one of you be willing to serve on that children's initiative?
I would be interested in it.
Huh?
The other one that I question is the West Central Initiative Economic Development District Board.
Which one?
The West Central Initiative Economic Development District Board. I don't know that we've ever received a report regarding that committee.
Line 50.
Line 50, yeah.
I don't remember who even served on it in the past. If there were,
I think it's usually someone from EDA that goes through there, but
some of these committees, I'm on some that have never met for some reason, but if there's some reason to call, we do have an appointment that goes to those, so.
well, on line 50, then I would appoint, I would recommend whoever is on the EDA board to fill that, both commissioners that both or one or the other can attend that.
Yeah, I agree with that, so that's Erica and Richard.
Mm-hmm.
I'll put you both.
And Mr. Chair, if I might add a compromise for the Human Services, why don't we consider keeping Erica on there and Dave leave if Richard wants to be on there, and Dave go over to sheriff. I mean, it's a compromise. You kind of Richard gets his oversight that he wants, and we still get the expertise of Erica on that committee. I don't know, Dave, if that's acceptable to you or.
I'm okay with that if that's okay with.
I thought of that scenario too, and I thought, well, I know Erica wanted to get a little more hands-on with the sheriff's committee. But I guess if that's a compromise,
If that's okay.
That Richard can oversee me on the Human
Wow.
Services?
I didn't say oversee you, I said oversight.
And that's not what it's about, Erica. I was taken off of there just as I was learning that committee. And I didn't ask to be put back on it, just so you know. I didn't have anything to do with this list.
okay, just going through the changes, we got Children's Initiative, Erica. Human Services would be Richard and Erica. Sheriff's Committee, Meyer and Nelson.
And then I have one, what number? The band and grade number 40. We probably maybe not want to do anything about it now, but if we do approve a new system, we would want to change that committee.
We could eliminate that.
We could eliminate it too. That's what I was thinking. And then we could add a committee if we needed to, maybe.
Yeah, I looked at that and I said, well, leave it in, we haven't adopted anything yet,
Yeah.
but we can,
We should probably change the chair and vice chair of finance too.
yeah, that should be automatic, so.
One other committee
No.
that I was appointed to in August that is not on here is the Senior Council.
Yeah.
Okay, add that.
And I just wanted to make sure that I have it straight. The West Central Initiative, both Richard and I will be on so that there will be
Correct. In my,
communication about, I will be able to know when that meeting is.
Yeah, I get copied on the email that Commissioner Bearbrook gets. I'll forward that to you if the board does approve that and introduce you so you'll get just steady emails.
Thank you, Pam.
I had one more, Mr. Chair. Number 34, the partner, sorry, number 35, the Partnership for Health. Originally, I was listed as the alternate, and I'm the main one. I'm going to all the meetings, so I don't know if that's been changed or not, but that should be changed if it hasn't.
Yeah, I think if one can attend, it's like all these, if these, hopefully one
Yeah,
commissioner.
well, the Partnership for Health requires that you have a main, a commissioner and an alternate.
Okay,
So that, and it's, so they're called an alternate, but yeah.
The Benefits Committee is also
Mhm. That was meant.
Barry and I.
Yeah, it's not me.
No.
Number 55 is Nelson and Jepson.
okay. Any other housekeeping ones? If not, I'll entertain a motion to approve the committee list for 2024 with the changes.
I'll make a motion to approve that list.
Motion by Richard, do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Barry. Further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
I'm,
Opposed? Carried, thanks. County Administrator.
Yeah, just a couple things under report. Under page 46, we have periodically in previous years provided you a summary where we're at with stats on exiting employees. This is just done by Carrie Smith. She does it separately, but sends it to me, and we always want you just to take a look at it. So we have numbers dated back to 2019 with 45 exiting, and in 2020, 52, 2021, 52, 2022, 51. 2023, we have a real low number, which is great, 28. We've been since 2022 in the single digits on openings, although some of the openings that we've had are difficult to fill, and sometimes they change. But we also have a breakdown quarterly for 2020, 21, 22, 23. Sometimes there's a seasonal component to people leaving. What we noticed, and there was a lot of reporting on post-COVID, as people were kind of let out of the COVID structure, they were actively looking for different work or reassessing their careers and what they want to be and things like that. So Carol will continue to update that on an annual basis. I guess the question I would have from the board is, would you want quarterly updates? Or if not, we're just going to bring it to you at the end of each year. And we just think it's something important for you to see. And like I said, it's a tool for us to see how we're doing from a retention component. Of course, there are exit interviews that are not mandatory, but we encourage anyone leaving to complete it. And when Carrie's here at an upcoming meeting, she'll give you a general overview of exits. We're not going to talk particularly about person or employee, but we just thought it was good data for you to see. And I guess if you have any questions, I can answer those.
That's almost half. What do you suppose the difference is there?
Well, again, there's a lot of consistency in 2021 and 1 and 2. It's almost exactly the same. And what has occurred in 2023? Who's to say? Maybe there's less opportunities. Maybe things have settled down post-COVID. I mean, there's a lot of things that could be reasons for it. But again, we like the number, and we hope we can keep that down and keep the vacancies down to a minimum.
I think this, for me, just update quarterly where we're at.
Okay.
yeah, I think quarterly would be fine.
Big issue, so.
And I'll continue on. The other item I had was capital improvement plan. This was something the board has encouraged us to at least continue to look at. We have completed a preliminary capital improvement plan, and again, that's for the public. That's a 5-year projection of our capital and fixed assets, over $5,000. In the last 2 years, Bruce Kimmel, our financial specialist, has presented to the board, has encouraged us to consider a 5-year plan. The Minnesota state statute recommends a county do a 5-year capital plan. All we're doing is putting together what a preliminary plan would look like, and we've gotten some great buy-in from department heads. The board would have to support something, and it would not begin until 2025. So my thinking is, if the board has any objections, we would just review that idea with the finance committee and see if it has legs to recommend to the board. But we're a long way from implementing it, because we're in 2024 now. We would not start it till 2025. But I think it would be very helpful and supportive. As you know, we did quite a bit of benchmarking of other counties, and out of 87 counties, the vast majority do have a countywide capital improvement plan. So I just want to give you an update on that.
Thank you.
On page 47, Becker County Museum Annual Report, you probably don't get this, but since it was sent out by Becky Mitchell to the state, we thought we'd show it to you. There's quite a bit of investment that was made in this project for the new museum. Of course, there was not only county funds, but also a state bond that the county supported. And this project is coming to a conclusion from a reporting standpoint. The building is complete, and there's going to be one or two requests for reimbursement, and then a final request in our meeting with Becky Mitchell. We also, our contact is Jerry Renner over in the state, and he's very pleased with the reporting, but I just thought you would want to see that. I don't know if you've seen the annual report before. We just thought we'd include it from an informational purpose. And with your chair, with your permission, maybe I could tackle the 4 and 5, and then we can go right to Karen, who's here, because it's fairly quick. The legislative platform, as you know, Cody Piper brought up the Merle opportunity through the EDA, and then there's also the idea of getting our sales tax reimbursement on the highway building. We have communicated both those opportunities to our elected officials. That also, there's been a meeting, I know from a Merle standpoint, with Senator Kupek. I believe Commissioner Jepson was part of that meeting. What we'll do is, as bills are being generated, we will let you know and let you know what the bill numbers are. It is very common for staff and elected officials to testify. So if there's an interest for a county commissioner to be a part of that, if we're fortunate enough to have bills authored, we would ask your support in going down and testifying at the legislature. Page 50, if you recall, NACO had sent a communication out in April acknowledging that we get these LATCF dollars. That's the Local Assistance and Tribal Consistency Fund dollars, roughly about $86,000 a year. They had requested 1% of that to be used for a public land fund opportunity. The board supported that back in April of last year. We did get April of this year. We did get an invoice. I thought I would show you that invoice. It is the 1% that the board approved. I don't necessarily believe you have to take actions that you did before, but I did want the board to see it and make sure they remembered it and they still support it. And if so, that we would move forward and fund that $1,672 out of the LATCF dollars.
I think NACO's position on this is to try to protect the PILT funding that the counties receive. So.
Yeah, and that's emphasized in the letter. We included the letter from earlier in April. But so I think the board has already supported it, so we will fund it unless the board has any objections. But I thought I'd let you see the bill and let you know that we are going to move forward with it.
Okay.
Good. Well, that brings us to Karen Pfeiffer with Cornerstone Community and Youth Center. There's a presentation that will be brought up, and the executive director is here. If you guys could sit down and introduce yourself to the board. And, make sure the mic's on, please. And if it's great.
Morning.
All right. Good morning.
Good morning.
Morning.
Go ahead.
I'm Mackenzie, but I've lost my voice, so I am the director. She's going to speak for us.
Yeah, thank you so much. Peggy, I had emailed Pat the presentation, so whenever you're ready. I am so glad we can be here to present to you today. I was here about a year and a half ago at the very beginning of this journey. Some of you were here at this point when we talked about Cornerstone. We're now at the end of the campaign, which is an exciting time. We're excited to share some of the information with you today, so you can go to the next slide. Cornerstone is a community and youth center in Frazee that we've developed. Just part of the why. When we look at data comparatively across Becker County, there are significant disparities that are seen within the city of Frazee. The percent of students that feel down, depressed, or hopeless was 52% of 11th graders in 2019, so half the kids. And a quarter of them were experiencing thoughts of suicide. That percentage was 12% higher than other school districts. We also looked at the comprehensive plan for the city of Frazee and noted that only 18% of people felt that Frazee was a welcoming place. were attractive, and only 3% felt that there was support for entrepreneurs. And so there was some real significant issues within the community that created opportunities. And so when we brought the data to the children, to kids in Frazee and said, why is this happening? Why do you think 50% of students are feeling depressed or hopeless? They told us basically that they felt nobody cared about them in our community. There was no place for them to be. They weren't really wanted anywhere. The cafe closes at 3 o'clock, that's in town. They didn't even have a place to go eat with their friends. And specifically, if they were not in sports, there was nothing for them to do. And so then we flipped the question around and said, well, what would make Frazee the best place to be a kid? What would be different here? We also gave them maps of the community and had them draw up things. Some of the things that they identified were putting in things like Frisbee golf, public art, which we've been able to do that the last few years with help from the city of Frazee, the Lions Club, different partnerships. But the biggest thing they talked about is having a safe place where they could go, where they could have good food, friends, and opportunities to engage. And so that's really what encaptured the mission of what Cornerstone is. If you want to go to the next slide. This is just kind of the data points that I referenced related to the percentage of youth and their well-being experience in Frazee comparative to other school districts. So you can go to the next slide. So what all does Cornerstone offer? Honestly, a wide variety of things. It is a true community center. We have the youth center that is open Monday through Friday until 5:30. It is free for children. And the reason why it's free is because Frazee's poverty rate is 19%, which is 75% higher than the county. It is almost double that of Detroit Lakes and Lake Park. There is a full kitchen and a food pantry available. So when kids come in, they're in that kitchen, they're cooking, they're learning skills, they've got food available. And the food drive from the school is what brings the food over to Cornerstone primarily. It's available for a paid membership for families. It's available for rentals. So there was no place to have birthday parties, things like that. Now people are having family reunions, birthday parties, class reunions, graduations. We have a place for that in the community, and that builds revenue. Entrepreneurialism. We're one of the only facilities in the region that has the maker space that is primarily arts, but there's also STEAM. So they have like laser engraving, 3D printing. We have cameras, graphic design, wood burning. They make custom stickers. These kids are learning skills that they wouldn't learn if it wasn't for that facility, and they've actually done a lot of custom orders for other communities and groups. So they're able to engage both freely with the things that are in the center, and then we also have organized programs for them to learn. The upstairs is the bistro and retail and gift. The sheetrock is getting finished today and will be painted so we can put in flooring, finally. It's been a long journey. But the bistro, retail, and gift, we're partnering with the school, so it's an entrepreneurial program, so we can rotate students to build entrepreneurial skills, and they can also sell the things that they're creating along with local artisans from the community. We also have a performing arts stage up there, and so we recently got a grant from Lake Region Arts Council to complete that with full light, sound, and everything. We have a large screen for presentations, and so this will provide opportunity to engage in performances. We have kids that are ecstatic about the opportunity to perform. We had 12 perform at our gala this fall, and so they're excited, both music, poetry, one-act dance, you name it. And community service. Mackenzie's really good about telling the kids, this community gave this to you, it's our job to give back. And we're going to share some of those numbers with you about how this has changed the fabric of the community in Frazee and what we see happening today. You can go to the next slide. So this is a short video clip just to kind of give you an overview. Thank you.
Frazee is a town
of 1,300 people. It's a very small rural community that has been pretty tight-knit, probably the last 10 to 15 years. There's just been a lot of struggle to grow. We knew there was a problem with mental health. We asked kids why. They told us they need to stay in place. They need a place to do activities and have fun and eat good food.
Apologies, we didn't test that out. Yes.
It's okay.
Well, could we, with your
Yeah.
chair, let's go from the beginning and just everyone keep their ears up if that helps, or?
That, or, I mean, you can always watch this afterwards too.
Okay.
It's just 3 minutes, so it's pretty short.
Well, let's try it. Let's just go ahead.
To support the youth center downstairs, so we can continue to serve youth in our community every day. I think that we will see a lot of community involvement among the youth. The goal is to have the community interacting with the youth and find things in the community that are meaningful to them. We want to make sure it's barrier-free. A lot of our families in Crazy or a high-poverty area, the community memberships, people can have access to the makerspace when they're here during the day with the understanding that kids are in the space too. I am super excited. A lot of the plans and the design have been very artistic. It'll be fun to see it all come together. Along the way, we've had hundreds of volunteers and thousands of hours of volunteer hours to be able to bring this to life. And we're at about 90% of the fundraising goal. Essentia Health was a significant contributor. Without their support, we wouldn't have gotten where we are. Okay. It's okay. Next slide. Oh. The next slide. There we go. One of the things we want to talk to you about are a couple of things, both the personal stories of impact as well as the tax savings that comes from programs like this. We've placed some of the stories from parents and from some of the students into this PowerPoint, which we'll share with you, that come from the parents of kids that hang out here. We've heard from parents that they're no longer worried about their child being suicidal because this has built their self-esteem so much. We hear from parents about the safety, about especially from single parents. We have more kids attending sports in the evenings where they don't have practice till 5:30. Now they have a place to be because they're not allowed to stay at the school in between. And so we see higher rates of participation. You can go to the next slide. One of the other things I want to talk a little bit about is just the tax savings. You know very well how much it costs, how costly it is to our county and communities for when we have people who experience substance use disorder, mental health crisis, engage in crime. It's very costly. Programs that engage youth, that really build on their strengths, provide that safe place, and provide opportunities for them are proven to reduce all of those things. So we're monitoring and watching the mental health substance use rate. We have our chief of police who comes in every day. We've heard comments of like, hey, we don't see kids around the community anymore. Tyler's been in there a lot and talking about like, it's a great program. He's there every week now. And so we recognize that there's a significant cost savings when we help our kids to do better. And we're building entrepreneurial skills. My company recently allocated the contract to lead economic development for the city of Frazee, and we're going to be moving some other things forward as well. So we're excited about the future. You can go to the next slide. This was one of the quotes from Lucy, who's 15, that has been able to engage in experiences that would not otherwise be possible. Lucy also was performing at our gala this year and musically, and is there every day almost. So it's just been really powerful to see the difference we're making in the lives of kids. Next slide. So who's coming there? On the top, on the left, you see adult shifts. And so as you can see, this allocates, we have a system that measures like how many volunteer hours are being allocated. This does not include our board or committee hours. This is only people who are coming in to volunteer outside of board and committee. So imagine you know how many hours you spend on boards. So there's over 60 adults that are non-board, non-committee that are allocating, and they've allocated over 2,000 hours. And this is just since January. Youth, we formally opened in June of this year. And so as you can see, there's 292 different youth. Some of those are duplicative. There are some kids that just volunteer, and there are some kids that just attend the center, but we did separate them out so you can see how many are visiting the center versus how many are volunteering. And those kids have logged over 7,000 hours since June. Next slide. Financial sustainability, this is one of the questions we get a lot. Our capital campaign was really targeted to be able to raise all of the money to complete the building plan so that we had zero debt when opening. The bistro, retail and gift, performing arts, and rentals generate enough income to pay for all of our operating costs that are non-related to youth programming. And so it pays for the entire building, everything else that happens within there. And then we set an annual fundraising goal of $125,000, which is more than what we actually need. And for 2024, we're already looking at our projected income for fundraising is at about 125% of that. So we're doing very well. This model is also being duplicated in other communities. We get phone calls all the time about how did you do this? What did it look like? We're working currently with Pelican Rapids. We've had met with people in Lanesboro, people in Brainerd, Perham, Park Rapids. Everybody's interested in how we're doing this and how they can do things similar. And so, Cornerstone has contracted with both my company as well as Beth Priday to ensure that we have a strong development plan moving forward so that we're always on top of being able to maintain our financial stability. Next slide. And so, like I said, at the beginning we came and the board, I think at that time, this is a new model. It doesn't exist in a lot of places, and there was a lot of questions of if this was going to work. We have raised over $1 million. Our capital campaign goal with some of the overages we had was 1.08 million. So we're at 50, we have a gap of about $54,000. And most of that is electrical, HVAC, some of those things that needed to be updated in the building that were not adequate, plumbing. And so we've done a fantastic job of getting to this goal. And so we're asking for an investment, and we say investment because, again, the tax savings by preventing youth from becoming adults that experience things that are extremely costly. We believe that we're going to be able to save money and invest more in our community. So the next slide. And again, this is just an outline on the right side. You can see the split of where the funding came from to be able to reach the capital campaign goal. On the left, you can see what we've already raised and then what some of those overages are that were above and beyond what we had anticipated originally, and we're just extremely close. So we're hoping that the county sees this as a strong investment for Becker County. With that, we just want to say thank you. Anything else?
No, I appreciate her talking and speaking, and I do just on a daily, some people wonder like, well, how many kids are coming on a daily basis to show the need. We are, I would say at least we have at least 20 kids every evening. We've had up to close to 50. And that's every day. Every day we've been busy. And that just shows that these kids really did need a place to go after school. And it's not just the younger kids. It's our teenage kids. So it's our 7th and 8th grade boys that have come and found a place. And to me, that means a lot because these are kids that could be at home alone, and that's fine. They're capable of being home alone. But it's showing that they want interaction with other people. They want interaction with other kids and adults. And to see that relationship has been phenomenal. And to see that we've also have adults that are teaching kids how to sew, and to watch your 15-year-old boys sewing for the first time is amazing, you know. So I just want you to know that it's been very beneficial for them and the adults in the community as a whole. So thank you.
Thank you, Karen. I appreciate what you started the project years ago with, and it's moved forward. And I happened to attend a city council meeting when some of the young gals came in and gave their reports. It was enlightening, and it's what they got gained from the program and what they did and volunteering and so forth. So. Yeah.
I just want to say too that we had, I believe it was not our last Becker County Extension meeting, but our one before, where I believe Cecilia had come and visited with you guys.
Yeah.
And she brought it also to our extension meeting and was very impressed with your program and talked about how fortunate Becker County is to have that program. So.
So your ask of Becker County would be $50,000.
Yes, and we recognize that's ambitious, and so I think we're just, we're trying to close the gap. We've worked incredibly hard to allocate over $1 million in Freezy. That's a lot of money for us, so.
I'm not sure what funding that could come out of. Pat,
Well, if you know, just remind the board, you know, back in the day, we had these things called ARPA funds, and those have all been translated into now public funds. They have the criteria for use of public funds is governed by state statute. So, you know, if anyone makes a request for public funds, it has to have a public purpose, and you have to have the statutory authority to provide that funding. And the simple example I'll give you, the funding you've provided to the fair. There's a statutory authority that says the county can give money to the fair, and there's a public purpose component to that. What we'd have to do is we'd have to explore the project that's being presented and see if it fits that criteria. Commissioner Jepson was kind of on the lead on that. She had asked for the statute for the public expenditures. I sent that to all of you in an email. So I think what I would recommend, if the board is supportive of it, is we've got the presentation. We could continue to have communication with both the executive director and Karen, and perhaps we could discuss it at Finance Committee. But there are steps and requirements to make something a public purpose. You have to go through certain items. One of them is, and I'm just going to read this because I don't remember it all, but to read that criteria, you have to show that the expenditure benefits the community as a whole. Is the expenditure directly related to the functions of government? Does the expenditure have its primary objective the benefit of a private interest? And that has to be a no. And so there's things that we have to go through. There are some funds, though, that are available at the city and county level, like when there are gambling taxes or contribution funds relating to nonprofit gambling that can be generated and given to nonprofits and things like that. So I think we'd want a little bit more time to explore some options. So is the board comfortable with taking it to Finance Committee for review, or what would you suggest?
Would have any ideas?
Well, Mr. Chair, I think this is an amazing project for the community of Frazee. Unfortunately for me, it's one community in the county, and it's difficult to kind of say this community as a whole for Becker County. It's serving a great segment of the community, but it's limited to, geographically that area. So I have some difficulty using county funds for the project. I think it's a worthy project and really good, but I just have some question on, we have numerous cities that would have requests, and that would be, every project that a city puts out is public good. So I'm struggling with using county funds for it myself, but.
Brian Rubenstein, you have a
Mr. Chair,
comment?
with your permission, just to speak, myself and Commissioner Jepson were actually on the opioid advisory council. And so I don't know, Erica, maybe you can help me out. You guys approved the consent agenda today already.
Correct.
With 4 grant approvals for the money that we've awarded, the grantees that had applied, and there was quite a few of them that applied. I don't know if Cornerstone is aware that they're actually the beneficiary of one of those grants, totaling $66,000 for them. So that decision that came up about 2 weeks ago, and now we're in front of the board to get those approvals through you guys today, which you already did. So it's a huge benefit to Cornerstone. Myself, as a district supervisor for Minnesota Department of Corrections, I was one of the reviewers for your grants, and I couldn't have been more impressed with what you guys had to offer. My kids were in daycare over in Frazee for many years, and I know Frazee quite well. But when I say this to you, that I didn't know what Cornerstone was, incredibly valuable. So when we got to have the opportunity to approve a certain budget amount for you guys, it was very, very well earned. So I don't know if that has been.
Was that included in your?
No, well, thank you, that's exciting.
I don't think anybody has been notified until after it was approved at the board.
Yeah, they were going
I
to
would
notify after
imagine.
this meeting.
Yeah, it is very exciting. And to your note on that, part of the opioid funding that is requested is to be able to do programming not only in Frazee, but across Becker County with some of the other school systems in partnership with organizations. And so that funding will go to multiple different entities to be able to do that work versus our request today, which is more about closing the capital funds, which is a one-time request. So that is exciting, and we're, wonderful news. And also recognizing that they're very different requests. The one thing I wanted to note, Barry, and this is more of a curiosity thing, is I completely understand that the county funding needs to be used for community benefit for all of Becker County. And I think part of the struggle that we identify with is that a lot of the resources are located in Detroit Lakes, which is fantastic because it is the center of the community. And there's a significant population of people in eastern Becker County and northern, which primarily go to the Frazee School District. And in Frazee, there are not a lot of resources. And because the poverty level is almost twice as high as the rest of the county, it seems to us like it would make sense to be able to invest some funding there, because we have families come in who are like, I'm having trouble with the school, I'm having trouble with this, where do I find this resource? And so it really is acting as a center to serve families and community across that entire eastern and northern part of the county. And so I'm just curious about if there's ever been discussion on that of where are the funding resources allocated currently, and is there an opportunity to look at how do we expand to reach people that are in those outer areas? And if we have a program that's doing that, is it worthy of consideration?
I think we got to, see if it's at all possible, some funding, then bring it back to the board for approval, and where we could legally take it from, and if we can legally do it. So I think that's where we're struggling with right now. So.
And I just wanted to point out too, we do have families that live in Detroit Lakes here in town that have kids that go to Frazee School. And now, because of our facility, those kids come to our program. The parents are able to work their full job here in DL, get off at 5, and now they can come to Frazee to pick up their kid at 5:30 when we close. So they are very thankful of our facility because of that, and they do work to school in Frazee. And I just want to say too, just like our community and our residents in the Frazee and Becker County area come and benefit from Becker County Museum. Fantastic facility. We are hoping that eventually we have that kind of mutual, people come from DL and come to Cornerstone to use our facility in our makerspace area, just like they go to and support the Becker County. So we hope that we can have that. I would love Frazee to be budding and this destination to go to. That's what we're hoping, just like we love to come to DL and use all these facilities, we would love to someday be that for them. So we're at the beginning of it, and this can help get to that exciting stage. So thank you.
Thank you for your presentation. I think I'd recommend we just discuss it at finance or see if anything we can do.
Thank you.
Bring it back.
Thank you. Oh, good. And I just want to remind the board, back in this predates two commissioners, but we did do, for external projects, and Cornerstone was one of them, they did present to the board. So I guess a follow-up question would be is, those are still external projects that the board has chosen not to consider at this time. Do you want to revisit that, give some thought to that, those other projects?
Board thoughts?
About the other external
About
projects?
the other external projects?
Is that what we're,
No, I didn't need an answer now. I'm just wanted to make sure that the entire board was aware there are a number of other external projects, Cornerstone being one of them, that were reviewed in 2022. Are those items that we would want to take a look at, or not? That's your call as the board.
And some of those examples would be treatment center in Lake Park, water treatment center, fire department in, I can't remember, was it?
Sugar Bush?
They're all good projects, and they're all valuable to community, specific communities.
Boys and Girls
Girls
Club
Club and Trail Lakes.
Detroit Lakes had a request.
So it's,
We'll have to see what we can do.
another funding option, is it been brought to Becker County Children's Initiative?
Okay. Thank you. Brian?
were we going to talk about the classification?
It's at 10 o'clock.
Oh, that's right, I'm sorry.
You're up next. Probation.
Oh, are you guys ready for us?
Yeah.
Okay.
Us, it only states one on your agenda.
Yeah, well.
Morning, Commissioners. Pat, Peggy. We wanted to just bring more about a discussion, conversation today in regards to our supervision services with our juvenile clientele. And over the past year or so, I just wanted to give you some information on a project and recognition that we received in the Department of Corrections. But first, I wanted to introduce to you one of our agents, our corrections agents with the DOC, Erin Rundle, and she is our juvenile agent that works primarily in Becker County. And she'll be giving you some information in regards to what she does within her position, and then some positive savings news towards the end of what we have for you guys today. So over the past year or so, we've been involved in a working alliance survey. And so basically what that is we title it WAZAR. And so when we think about our probationers, our folks that are on supervision, we never really get their feedback in regards to how we are doing our services for them. And so it's kind of an uncomfortable thing for our staff to go through, and you would think, hey, I'm given a survey to rate somebody that could potentially throw me in jail tomorrow, right? So it's an uncomfortable situation that our staff could be in, but nothing is further from how that plays out. And so I say that because when we ask our probationers how their agent is doing for them, does their agent take your best, take your situations into account when you are making decisions that aren't the best for you? Are they helpful? Are they supportive? Do they hold you accountable, et cetera, et cetera? 95% of our staff that went through that survey came about with results that were agree and completely agree. Okay, so it was a survey that gave you 5 criteria. completely agree, neutral, disagree, completely disagree. We had, over the course of hundreds of surveys that went out, I think we had a total of 3 or 4 that actually were at neutral, and we had 1 disagree. And so with that, what told us that on the disagree one was, even though the rest of that survey was all positive, we think it was actually a mistake that the client had chose. So it's kind of interesting on that. Aaron was one of our recipients that was awarded a statewide recognition award down in St. Paul a couple months ago. That was awarded by the Commissioner of Corrections, and she was able to attend that session with us. The other piece that comes along with this is the relationship factors. So what that survey tells us is if we have strong relationships with our clients, right? I mean, it's not typical to hear, oh, our probation officers have relationships with our clients. Well, we actually do. The more rapport that you develop, the more positive relationships that you have, the better our clientele are going to do. It's one of the top 10 causal factors to doing well on supervision. So one of the pieces that I wanted to bring Erin with about today is just to talk to you guys about what she does in the world of juvenile supervision for folks that are placed on probation with us through the courts. So with board's permission, I'd like to just turn it over to Erin for a little bit to inform you guys on what she does on a daily basis.
Morning.
Good morning. So I've been in my role roughly about 2 years as the Minnesota Department of Corrections, Becker County Juvenile Probation Agent. Prior to that, I worked at the West Central Regional Juvenile Center for 7.5 years as their Secure Residential Program Coordinator and Independent Living Program. I've had extensive work in all fields of juvenile justice system with having that background, and working at the detention center was really eye-opening. It felt very reactive. They were already there. They had X amount of felonies or serious offenses that they felt they were never going to get out of. Coming to probation, I looked at it as a proactive role I could have. I could intervene prior to all those offenses, prior to them going down that road of being potentially stuck in the adult criminal justice system and then really never getting out of it. One thing I took away at the detention center was 90% of the youth there, probation was never involved, or they were involved when they had to be. So minimally, once a month you had to have contact with them. That's not enough. That's not enough to help them get back into the community, to feel supported, and to feel like they can succeed. So coming over here, I wanted to have a collaborative team approach. Not one person is better than the other, not one agency is better than the other. How do we bring us all together to have the best interest of the client, the young adult? Something else that has been beneficial is asking the youth, what do you want? What do you want to do? And again, 9 times out of 10, they look at me and said, no one's ever asked me that. No one cares. They tell me what I need to do, what is best for me. And then how do I know what's best for them? I barely know them. I'm just in court. And so getting to know them, listening to them, having the parents come in, get their input, and again, coming up with a plan together. Has been very beneficial. Getting buy-in from the youth. If you don't have buy-in from them, they're not going to do anything that you want them to do or that you hope that they will do throughout your time working with them. So again, giving them that opportunity or that voice to say, hey, I'm really struggling right now with finding a job. Maybe they're having struggles in school too, but they want some work on a job. Okay, so how about let's put in some applications, and then we're going to go to study hall 3 or 4 days a week this week and get some of those credits caught back up. They're more willing to do that if you're willing to work with them on something they're interested in. My position has allowed me to, yes, utilize juvenile detention, but that's not a first resource or first line that we go to. And when I say we, probation, children's mental health, child protection, Indian child welfare. We all work together with whatever clients we are supervising. What can we do in the community? What resources can we give them? And we have a lot at our disposal. We have chemical dependency programs. We have mental health services. And then approaching it as being available. Addiction is not Monday through Friday, 8 to 4:30. Now, being available with boundaries. So I will check my phone once at night to see if a client has reached out with any questions or concerns. And sometimes the texts that I get at night are scary, and they're reaching out because they're in a bad place. About a week ago, I had a client text me at 9 o'clock at night. I really want to go use, but I don't want to because I am doing well in school, I have a job, but I'm just struggling. And we just texted for about 10, 15 minutes. What happened? Did something happen at home? What made you feel this way? After the conversation, thanks for listening to me. I feel a lot better, and I'll check in with you in the morning. So just having those interactions really speaks volumes. And when Brian was talking about the survey, I know some of those have been recognizing that availability-ness and not just doing a job Monday through Friday, 8 to 4:30, which leads me to my passion. If you're not passionate about what you do, it's hard to be successful. I can honestly say 95% of my working days, I want to be there. I'm excited to be there. I want to work with the youth. I want to work with the other agencies and see these kids succeed because they are our future. And if we can't put time and effort into them, or what I'm going to say, the people say the bad kids, there aren't bad kids. They're just kids that are making poor choices. They're put in circumstances sometimes out of their control. So I like to challenge those people or entities that like to say that these are bad kids and what are we doing? Well, why do you think they're bad kids? Tell me your reasoning. And then they just go to their offenses. So it goes back to the labeling theory. Once they're labeled a certain type of offender, it's hard for them to get out of that stigma. And working with the county has been great to change that perspective, change that stigma of probation just locks kids up. No, we don't want to lock kids up. We want them in the community. We want to see them succeed. And let's put all of our resources, well, not all of them, but let's put a lot of our resources towards that and towards their strengths. One other thing I want to note is the working relationship with the county attorney. I have talked with some other counties over the past couple of months, and they have recognized some of the things that we have been able to do within the court system, thinking outside the box and not just treating every person as one person. No, everyone's an individual. They need different services. So being able to do community service, grant restitution program, apology letters. We utilize third millennium education courses online for theft and conflict-wise if someone gets into a fight. So really trying to keep them out of juvenile detention with what we have to use.
And so what this leads us to for most, a very positive difference, even from years before, is I truly believe that the services that the county offers our clients on the juvenile end, including the great work that Aaron is doing. I'm overly pleased, and I vetted this with Jenny over at Child Protection, because we do fall under the Child Protection budget. We had a budget set of $185,000 for last year for placements, okay? During 2023, we utilized $104,000 of that. So we've got close to $81,000 in savings over 2022, approximately. It's a big savings. And it's something that I feel that falls on the shoulders of Erin in regards to the folks that she's helping out on a daily basis. You're hearing just a titch of what she does during a 40-hour work week, okay? But when it comes down to it, the work that she does on that positive end equates to assisting with savings for our counties that we serve, especially in Becker County, where we do have fantastic relationships with our stakeholders. We talk about our sheriff, our county attorneys, our prosecutors, public defenders, et cetera. It scares me to want to ask Erin what the other 5% of the day is that she doesn't want to be in the office, but we'll leave that for another time. But anyhow, so on a positive note, we're both very happy to sit up here to tell you that because of Erin's work, because of what the county does with our population, our juvenile population, this is one of the first years that we've actually seen a savings that significant to report to you. So, and with that, I'd offer time for any questions if you guys want. Or Anything on that end?
I just want to say thank you for your work. I come from a child protection background, so I know the importance of these youth having a person and having a person that they can depend on to be there and to steer them in the right direction. So the work you do is very important. So thank you.
Thank you.
A couple points. Placing kids in West Central, we're a member there, but it's expensive, and especially, and we've fluctuated up and down there in the past. But saving money is a good thing, but the other good thing is the saving of those kids, hopefully. I mean, and I think recognize those personal communications that you have and the other staff have are key. And it's just like when Cornerstone is presenting, they need those adults to give reinforcement. I do think that corrections has changed over the years. My wife used to be in corrections, and she got out of it because she couldn't have enough contact with the kids. It was all paperwork. And I think after she left, I think the state has realized that we need to get more contact. So I'm glad we're moving in that direction. And thank you, Aaron, for what you do.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you very much, Aaron. No,
Thank you.
it's awesome.
Thank you. Any other?
Thank you, Commissioners.
Thank you.
Peggy, appreciate it.
I think I want to move Sheriff up in front of land use, environmental services. We got a lot of people here, I think, out for that
Yeah, thank you.
ceremony.
And I'll have them come in when we get to that
Okay.
portion of my agenda.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the board. First item I have is purchase request. First one being, as you mentioned before, install lights on our airboat. The quote that we have from Code 4 is $6,873.03, and we talked about in finance that we could probably trim a little bit from what we have in our supply. But if I could request up to that amount.
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion to approve up to $6,873.03.
I'd second that.
And Mr. Chair, I think we discussed that in Sheriff's Committee too, that there was some options maybe to find some other equipment that we've have in stock to lower that. So we are looking at that option too.
Right.
Got a motion and second. Any other questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Thanks.
Item number 2 is a requesting approval to purchase 2 portable radios. This is through Motorola Solutions at a cost of $12,445.92.
Make a motion to approve.
Motion by Barry,
I'll second.
second by Dave. Further questions? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Carried.
And 1C, I would like to enter into an agreement with Accurate Controls. This is a maintenance agreement, and I'm not sure if Judy is on. Oh, you're, good deal. We are looking at the silver option. I just have to get to it.
And Judy, we've been talking about this quite a while, and Sheriff and Judy's been at Sheriff's meetings numerous times. It's kind of been, I don't know why we're so late in it now, but it's been something that's critical for our.
Got it.
Yeah, and I looked at that, and I think the best value would be to go to the 3-year.
Yeah, if we go to the 3-year fee plan, we'll save $20,803.
Yeah, and it's something that we're going to need year after year, so.
And again, this is a major component at our jail for security and safety.
Do I have a motion?
So just to clarify, we're looking at the 3-year plan for $91,1383.
Yes.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
I'll make that motion, enter into that agreement with the 3-year plan.
Motion by Barry,
I'll second.
second by Dave. Further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Thanks.
Thanks, Judy.
No problem.
Thanks for all the help, you.
Item 2, Resolution 124-2B. We would like approval to enter, or to apply for a grant. This is a K-9 grant and it would be a total of $7,500 that we would receive. We'd have to match that with 2,500, which we have.
From donations already.
donations.
Correct.
Yeah. Which is on 2B.
So moved, 2B.
Motion by Barry.
I'll second.
Second by Dave. Any further questions? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Carried.
And I just want to say on that, regarding the K-9, we've had wonderful support already for that new dog and training. Item 3, this is just for information. Every year we have to do a PREA audit, Prison Rape Elimination Act, and this costs $5,000. It's by statute that we have to do this. So just, again, wanted you to know that we will be doing that. We received an award. I think everybody got that. It's just acknowledgement that we did pass our Board of Peace Officers Standards and Training in our compliance review. And that, again, is, I'm thankful for the staff that I have, because without them, none of this would have taken place. So excellent staff, and this is all on them. Any questions on that?
Can you pull that award up on the screen?
I was just going to say, other than kudos to your department.
Yep.
Thank you.
Maybe notify Tessa that it's going to be a few minutes.
I'm doing that now.
And Mr. Chair, if I, before we go to number 4, which is the ceremonial oath of Deputy Clark, if I could just have a minute to have them come in.
Yeah. After this.
Everybody's afraid to come in. And this is a long time coming. Deputy Clark has been with us now a few months. We went through our field training, and with us today are his parents. Anybody else?
Nope.
Casey couldn't make it? Okay.
They're in Florida.
Oh, okay. Well, it's nice of you to stay back. So I'll have Deputy Clark talk a little bit about himself, but I just want to say that his parents are here, and Gene Sr. was a deputy for us for many years, and he will be pinning on the badge today for his son. And we are honored to have Gene and his wife here with him. So go ahead, let's hear about it.
Actually started my career in 2005 with the Sheriff's Department. I worked boat and water for a summer. After that, I started with the Watershed Police Department. I was there for 18 years. It's always been my dream to work for Becker County, following my dad's footsteps. He left the county, went to Whiteearth. I left Whiteearth and came to the county, so it's fulfilling a dream being able to retire from where my dad retired from.
Welcome, and thank you.
Yeah, welcome.
Okay, now I'll perform the oath. So we call him JR. That's his nickname, so that's what you'll probably hear me say. Stand right here. Raise your right hand and repeat after me. I, state your name.
I, Eugene Clark,
Do hereby swear
do hereby swear
that I will support
that I will support
the Constitution of the United States of America
the Constitution of the United States of America
and impartially discharge
and impartially discharge
the duties
the duties
of the office of Deputy Sheriff,
of the office of
Deputy Sheriff
Deputy Sheriff
of Becker County, Minnesota,
of Becker County, Minnesota,
to which I have been duly appointed
to which I have been duly appointed
to the best of my ability.
to the best of my ability.
Congratulations.
And we'll get some photos of the boardroom.
Tag along many times in white with me when I was there.
All right, smile. 1, 2, 3.
Thank you. Okay. And then we'll sign up. We'll go on break for a little bit before we.
5 minutes, 10 minutes. John, how long?
Thank you.
5 minutes.
5 minutes, thank you.
She's,
Good morning. Want to get started right away?
Steve?
So we're on page 54.
go ahead.
Before us, we have 4 items for the Land Use Department. 2 of these are for the Natural Resources Department. The first one is the 2025 tree seedling bids. We sought quotes, and we had one response from PRT, which is we've historically bought trees from for a number of years. See, the pricing has went up quite a bit. We did also reach out, or I looked at the DNR quotes, and they're still higher than this. So our recommendation is to award the seedling contract to PRT USA for a total of $27,400.
So moved.
Motion by Barry, do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Dave. Further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Carried.
Thank you. The second item is Resolution 01242A. It's a deed restriction on the Dunlocks Park, which basically says that it's required by the DNR to get our grant for the shelter. And basically, it says that this property, these 2 government lots that the county owns, will be permanently managed and maintained for public outdoor recreation use. And Becker County may at any time convert any portion of the park areas to uses other than public recreational outdoor recreation use without the prior written approval of the state or the DNR through its Commissioner of Natural Resources. Does anybody have any questions on that?
Well, I don't have a question. That we plan, that's what the best use and what we plan on that, but it's a little overreach for the DNR, in my opinion, to take all the property, what just been said. But again, that's best use for that property anyway.
Yeah.
I don't have a problem with it, but it's a little overreach in my opinion.
It is, yeah.
Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve.
2A.
Do we?
Do I have a second?
I'll second 2A, yeah.
Second by Dave. Further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Carried.
Third item is adding, spending some funds to put plastic liner inside of our walking floor trailers that we recently purchased. This is a request through the Environmental Services Committee. It helps preserve the trailers. Initially, we talked about this, and I didn't realize that this total would come up to be this amount. So that's the reason it takes board action. It's just, it's a larger amount than what I originally thought it would cost. So the total cost to install the liners in the 4 trailers was $33,683.52 through Horn Plastics, and this includes us providing some of the steel for this. Anybody have any questions?
Is this isn't the trailer that we were talking about earlier? This is just the lining
This is the
Or is
lining
this
in those
the-
4 new trailers that we purchased.
in the
On
new ones that we,
Yeah.
Correct.
okay.
To protect them.
Yep.
Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Motion by Richard,
I'll second.
second by Dave. Further discussion?
I'm just making sure that this has been, you vetted this is necessary. I mean, I see it's frozen, stuff doesn't come out, but I mean, it's,
Well, just to give you an idea, you can see our new trailers are dinged up already from not having it, but BMT put it in, it is expensive, but BMT put it in their trailers. And you can, if you look at the line, the trailer we're getting has a good liner in it.
is it a U-shaped liner or is it
No,
three
it's
piece?
just lines
It's a
the
three piece?
sides. There's aluminum floor and it's just a thin liner along.
It's just like the beat trucks having,
Top to the bottom.
but yeah, it does seem expensive.
It's gotten very expensive, but it is a big piece of plastic and it's quite a job to put it in.
That's installed price?
Oh,
I think the labor was like $2,600 to install.
yeah. It's not cheap, so to speak, but it's for long-range protection, it's gonna pay for itself.
Well, I don't think the protection is as valuable as the slide ability of getting your loads.
Well, the
I mean,
protection, because especially on aluminum bodies, it probably stop them from poking a hole in them.
It keeps them, it takes all the wear off them. You can just replace the liner and like for end dumps and a lot of these other trailers, we use it. I have it in my trailer. It is expensive, but it really saves on the trailer. And it does help with a frozen load. You're
Yeah,
right, Barry.
yeah.
It makes a big difference that way too, so.
great,
Got a
thank you.
motion and a second, any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Carried.
The fourth item is a capital purchase request to purchase a used walking floor trailer from BMT. This is one of their trailers that they had. And they're looking to get rid of all of them that they had because they're no longer in the waste hauling business. And this was brought up to our committee. The committee looked at it. Commissioner Barberg, along with one of our staff, went and looked at it. We also got an opinion from Doug Storch from Wilkeny Industries. He's a salesperson. They deal with used equipment. He said it'll be right on. Something like this would be in the neighborhood of 20,000 plus or minus, but the market for this type of trailer is actually quite strong, so it might be worth more than that. Plus, they also have this plastic liner in it. As you can see, it's expensive to do. So when you look at taking those things into consideration, their asking price of $29,000 is probably a pretty fair price estimate.
I couldn't find a used one. Like, there's new ones for sale. I couldn't find a used one, and it's actually even heavier than our trailers. The sidewall of it it's been well maintained. It's got good brakes and drums. It's dirty, but it's actually in pretty decent shape.
So the recommendation of the Environmental Services Committee was to move ahead and recommended authorization to purchase this truck from BMT for $29,000.
Motion?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it. Any more discussion?
No, it comes with a tarp too, right? They're gonna have
Yes, it comes with the
the new tarp.
I guess my biggest concern with it is just that the salesperson said it's plus or minus 20, and we're paying 29, so
That he's a
that's-
salesperson and he didn't see the trailer. And so he looked only at pictures of it.
Mm-hmm.
And you can't take a picture of that trailer and see the value of it. Doesn't work that way. I've owned a lot of semi-trailers. I own semi-trailers. And so I was concerned with that too, Erica, and that's why I went and looked at the trailer. I actually crawled under the trailer. We looked at all the trailers there. And I tried to find a used trailer and I couldn't find one. I found some new ones, but I could not find one of those. So for somebody to look at it from a picture and tell me that, I guess that's one thing, but for somebody to go and look at it, actually look at the trailer is a big difference, so.
It's just, it seems like us going on our own is getting more and more expensive.
And it is, I knew that. We didn't want to get in the trucking business. Steve knows that. But when you look at, it's the only way that we can haul it both ways. And there are times when things go wrong and we can't get that garbage off the floor, for one thing. And we don't have a sprinkler system in that building, and that's a fire hazard. So I spent some time out there and talked it over with Dean, and that's where I'm getting this recommendation from. And Steve's got the money, so.
So if you may, in addressing your question, a couple things. One is the trailer, when this gentleman made his long-distance opinion, he's not taking into consideration the fact that it's lined. So there's a cost to lining. We make that adjustment, throw in a cost for extra tarp that, brings those adjusted prices, kind of like an appraisal, actually much closer together. The other thing is that because Becker County has so much of a seasonal swing in our waste volumes, in the summertime, we're going to need probably something else. BMT had 6 trailers. We'll have 5. So if we think just by managing it more prudently, we can get by with 5, but it is a good idea to have 1 spare. And this trailer would fill that need. So that's why I'd recommend moving forward with it. It's not a bad
Any
trailer.
other questions? None, I got a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Carried.
Thank you.
This is an updated purchase request on the forestry head, the brush hog.
Thanks, Jim.
Or the skid steer.
Thanks, Jim.
Thanks, sir.
Morning, Commissioners.
Morning.
Highway, we have 6 items for you to act on today. First being a resolution on a grant request. We're looking for your support for what they call a active transportation grant. These grants are geared towards pedestrian and walking and biking and things like that. The legislature set aside bond money for this program. It's a nice program. It has about $30 million worth, and grant applications can be between $50,000 and $1 million. We thought our project in the city of Lake Park would match nicely. We're doing a lot of sidewalk work along with our street resurfacing here planned for next year. And this fits right into the program. We are going to request $500,000 to help us with our sidewalk and ADA work. We felt that was a good number. We're not asking for the maximum. We think sometimes you don't score as well if you're, we have some participation then of our own in that as well. And this project will be funded with state aid funds and smart funds next year. So we're requesting us to move ahead and apply on that.
Have a motion?
I'll make a motion.
I'll second it. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Carried.
Next is a support resolution for the City of Frazier's application into the same program. They're seeking funds to do trail construction within their park. Again, this program fits that niche good, and they are seeking $650,000 for their work on the trails within the park area.
Motion on 2D.
I'll make a motion.
I'll second. Further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Next item's purchase request. The first is the brush hog forestry head for our skid steer. I just handed out a newer quote that we received since we submitted our board packet. This is a lower quote. We're looking at the Fecon brand attachment that comes in at about $39,900. And then with that, also purchasing a shatterproof door for the skid steer due to the hazardous nature of the work and that.
I'll make a motion to purchase that attachment.
Motion by Richard, I'll second that. Further discussion?
Are we making the motion for the lower quote? I'm assuming the 43,291?
Yes.
That includes, if you look at the two
Includes
quotes,
the shatterproof
door for the skid steer.
door for the skid steer. Because it'll shoot stuff at it.
All in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Carried.
Jim, what size tree does that take?
It can go up to 8 inches, and what's nice about it, then we can also kind of grind it and dispose of it so we don't have to come back with our chipper. So it kind of saves on work too for us, sending two crews out there.
Yeah.
For 2 visits anyway.
I would like us to get a little bit more timely in our mowing of ditches to keep that brush down in a more manageable state so this machine wouldn't have to work as much too. I mean, if we can get down to that every other year, to mow the trees down in our ditches, but I think we're slowly getting there.
We are catching up. Next item, purchase request, is the Base 1 stabilization product. Each year they have a pre-buy opportunity for us to save money. We're using this product in our road projects where we reclaim the roads, and this product is injected to build better strength in the roads. The road we plan to use it on is County Road 47. And our need is for 13 totes. Their program allows for 2 free totes for every 5 totes you purchase. So this will save us $14,000 approximately for a pre-buy, which we will use this summer then.
Have a motion?
I'll make a motion to purchase this.
I'll second. Something we've taken advantage of just about every year. So it does save us. So any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Next item is a purchase request for a half-ton pickup. At Highway Committee, we had not gotten sufficient quotes yet. We had reached out, we saw on the state bid, there was one truck available, and we'd also like to look at local buy options to get some comparative pricings. I believe the price on the state bid truck was in that, I don't know, $48,000. So we'd like to kind of just go out now and search for vehicles and find the best value, I guess, for our needs. And then we're requesting a not to exceed $50,000. When we get our comparable quotes, we would submit that to the Highway Committee for their authorization of not to exceed $50,000 then.
So I have a motion on the request.
I'll make a motion to approve it.
No second. Further discussion?
Mr. Chair, I'd just like to offer the suggestion that you would do a half-ton pickup, a 4x4 crew or extended cab if you so choose, instead of limiting them to the crew cab, because the extended cab's cheaper anyway, and you don't need it, or find one that you want, but not limiting you just to that crew cab style.
Yeah, I think that we purchased club cabs, I guess, which do have the 4 doors now. They don't, the extended cabs with the reversible doors, I don't believe anybody makes those anymore. They're all kind of like club cabs, they call them, with 4 doors.
Yeah.
So, yes, we'll look at those as well.
I even suggested they look at possibly one that's a year old that's sitting on the lot with a few thousand miles on, just see. But a lot of those are higher end pickups. I've looked at a few, some like Jerry would buy.
I do prefer you buy like a Chevy and LT, the lower, I mean, a pickup past me was from Clay County, it was an LTZ limp, loaded up. I'm like, I don't know that government vehicles need to be the loaded up vehicles.
Yeah. But I think we'll look something similar to what we purchased last year. We bought off the lot, and it was right in that $48,000, I think we bought from Nearson. So
I think you find something, Jim, just shoot a copy it to the Highway Committee and let us know what you're looking at.
Yep.
Okay. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Carried.
Finally, looking for permission to dispose of some county property. We have a snow blower, 2014 3-point. We received its placement here this fall, so we're looking to sell that. Pick up on an online auction. We typically choose auction block. That's been good for us in the past. So we're seeking permission to sell that piece of equipment.
What brand is that? It's not that Schulte, is it?
I can't remember.
Yeah, I don't remember which one it is.
I know we have, that's what we've been buying, is the
Yeah.
Schultes.
I mean, I don't have a problem me selling it. I don't know if it wouldn't be best to hold it till next fall, but, I mean, there's not a lot of interest in snow removal right now.
There's a lot of snow blowers out there.
We could do that if
But it's up, I think you'd get more value, but I don't know what the value of it is. 4,000, you might save an extra $300 or something.
I agree, right now you're in the middle of winter.
Oh, not very snowy winter.
I think we can authorize sell it, and then just if you choose to wait until next.
We could put a reserve on it, and then if it doesn't sell, we could hold it till next fall.
I will make a motion to authorize the disposal of the 2014 3-point snow blower at your discretion.
I'll
Got
second
a
that.
motion, second? I'll second that. Oh,
I
you
second,
did?
yep.
Excuse me. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right, thank you.
Carried.
Thanks, Jim.
Thanks, Jim.
Shoot.
Yep.
Kyle, how long is your presentation?
Probably 5 minutes.
Good.
Good.
Okay, thanks.
Good morning, Commissioners, Mr. Chair. Yesterday I received some correspondence. Some of you were copied on it as well. Bolton and Mink just asking for your comments, your markups, if you have any, on the existing conditions document and then the goals document. I can forward them to you right after this so you
I didn't get them. Did anyone else get them?
I got the email from them, but I think it's because I'm on
The document was actually handed out during our
We have the
workshop.
Yeah, I have the
Yeah. So if you have any markups or comments, you can give them to me. I can scan them, or you can scan them yourselves, whatever you prefer. But I also just wanted to touch on a couple things to do with that. I was wondering if there would be any value in having another workshop.
I thought it was really,
I think so.
I think it was really productive.
I
Yeah.
think if they're willing to do it, I think it's,
There was just a couple things, like they proposed in the beginning, right now we have 4 policy districts, broken up into kind of different land uses in the county. They proposed that one policy across the board. We never really touched on that after they proposed it. Also, I think we should be looking at the classification of districts. Probably like a good half of that work session could be, appropriated to that. So just depending on your schedules, when I can propose it to them, they can always meet virtually, but if I can get the 5 of you in a room again, I think.
I like in-person better.
Yeah, I do too.
Okay, well, I'll make sure they get that.
The only other thing during open forum, I just said I'm not quite comfortable where we left the discussion on the VRBOs. I don't know, I just think there should be a little bit more discussion and maybe look at if there's any ways to kind of manage that a little bit more. I don't know.
Well, what I can do is in between now and then, when we meet, I can pull some other surrounding counties' ordinances and send them out to you guys. But I just don't think that last one was enough dialogue. I think we could continue if you guys are open to it.
yeah, I think that's a good idea.
I don't know what your schedules look like. If someone wants to propose a date, I'll shoot it to
Just
them.
shoot some options out to us so we can.
Okay.
Fridays typically are good for me because I have Fridays off, but I can make otherwise afternoons
Okay.
work better.
Otherwise, they're planning to start drafting the updates to both the plan and the ordinance, and they should be done early spring, I would think, or late, maybe, just depending on how much more input we give them. But the other thing I want to talk about at that next work session is kind of what your expectations are for these pop-ups with townships and any of these particular groups with interest, whether that's we invite the Isaac Walton League, if we invite the ag portion of the county separately, or how you want to do that, or how much engagement you want conducted.
I mean, at our work session? I mean, I think
No,
they all should be aware of it or invited,
Yeah, I don't think you'd be
but I don't
required,
think
but
they should necessarily have input at those meetings.
But I
No,
think
not
we're
them.
having the plan is to have those public input.
right, like we may go to Cormorant and just have a nightly meeting, and we may go to maybe Osage or Ogama. It just kind of like some input on how many you would like, just to make sure we're,
And that's for like townships and these interest groups?
I
or-
think, and I mean, the door doesn't have to be limited to anybody, but I just think we probably know our crowds.
Mhm.
I would think that almost ask them to approach all the townships and, especially the more rural ones, maybe coordinate, that you'd go to one, if you're going up the Northwest, say, I'd like we can do it at township night, or, I mean, I think those would be important. Bigger townships, and maybe do a virtual meeting, just a few minutes for them too, but maybe they don't have virtual capabilities. But
And we can go to them, that's not a problem either.
I think some of that should wait till spring, a little bit later in the spring, so get more people back. There's a significant amount of people gone south right now. So some of the plan itself may be later, but some of the ordinances can be moving on those.
Sure. Well, then, again, I just wanted to make sure that you're open to another workshop, but we'll plan to do that, and, yeah. Otherwise, I'll send these 2 documents that they wanted you to review, just.
I think they were in our board packet too. If they're the same, I don't need if they're just the documents, I don't need that, because I've got it in the board packet from the last meeting and from the printed one.
Yep.
Sounds good, thank you.
Thanks, Kyle.
Thanks, Cal. There you go. Do we have Tessa?
Tessa, are you still online? You are.
Yes, I am.
Okay. Thanks for waiting for us.
No worries. All right, I'm going to share my screen if that's okay.
Go ahead.
All right, can you see my screen?
Yep.
Yes.
Perfect. Okay. So since the last time we met, the Finance Committee saw this PowerPoint on Friday, and then they made some recommendations. So the PowerPoint changed a little bit because over the weekend I tried to get those recommendations, cost, and how it would impact the implementation. So the end is a little bit different than what the Finance Committee saw on Friday as they were requests for changes. So in the last time we met, this was the 20 grade grid with the percentages. You will see later that the Finance Committee did make a recommendation. We change some of the percentages between steps, and I will show you that and explain the implementation cost. Again, it creates where you want to be competitive to the market, and those extra steps at the end again. So 11 and 12 would come after, not annually, but every 2 years. And these are the classifications that when I looked at the JAQs, when I looked at like the internal organization, these are the classifications that I am recommending, and staff did help. I know you have a lot of titles, so if someone doesn't see their title on here, I know Carrie and her team can help with that because there's a lot of working titles, or a department may call them something else, but payroll calls them something else. But these are the classifications that I would recommend, and you can kind of see the old grade, which is your decision band method, and then the new grade. So these are not what you originally saw from Mark, but in my looking at the JAQs, and again, there were 2 sets of JAQs for some jobs as they resubmitted those. Are there questions on any of these classifications? I know you have, oh, go ahead.
This is Commissioner Nelson. Just to clear up then, that you reviewed both the sets of PAQs and then kind of gave your interpretation at best of your knowledge of where they should be. But you reviewed both of them, correct?
Yep, and some
So
of
it's
them
a collaboration of both, kind of.
Yeah, and also just knowing what I know of our system. So this is my recommendation of where internally, hierarchically too. So when I look at departments, kind of seeing where I think they should fit in based on what the JAQ. There were in some instances on the JAQs, I would say some inflation of what's needed for the job. So I'm going to put it on what I would recommend, meaning if you said a job requires a bachelor's degree and 10 years of experience, I would say, no, you're going to round hole square peg your way out of candidates. You may have that as an employee, but that's not what's needed for the position. So it is a combination of those 2 JAQs and then my professional opinion of hiring standards, internal organization, and then the integrity of the system.
Thank you.
So with that, all of these are in here. So, for one thing for the board today would be, if you agree with these classifications, the next step would be to send out a memo to the employees to say, here's where the jobs are classified, and then allow them to appeal the classification. Let us know what they think is missing or warrants another review, not rewriting the JAQ to get a desired outcome, because that's what I felt like some of those doubles were doing, is to try to just get a desired outcome. So ideally, it would be nice if we had a finalized job description to send them. But I think part of the board's movement was to not finish that process, or it would be finished internally at a later date. Because with the finalized job description, they could see everything as is. But with the timing of this, and I know the implementation, that would be my recommendation, is to send this out and say, these are where the jobs are going to be classified. an appeal can be done with the employee and supervisor. The employee cannot appeal it by themselves. Are there questions on that or direction changes from the board?
Oh,
Well, my question would be, the employee can't move forward without the advisors or their supervisors, okay? I mean, there's no appeals process for that?
So ideally what we try to do is we have that should be a conversation. So if you were Commissioner Nelson, the employee, you would have to fill that form out with your supervisor so that you're not just elevating your position. And if there is a disagreement in that, then that's where we kind of come back and meet and discuss that. But it's supposed to be done as a conversation so that you're both in agreement of what that position should be doing and what they're doing. Because in some cases, you know, if I'm doing something I shouldn't be doing, that could be a liability to the county.
Right? I'm just thinking of a department head not allowing someone, and then say if they are doing those jobs, I'm just playing devil's advocate, there should be an appeals process somewhere to.
Then I would say they submitted, and then we would have to have a conversation with that department head or supervisor, whoever's not signing off on it, to find out their reasoning behind it.
That's fine, as long as there's some sort of avenue for someone to.
Yep, nope, that's a good question. So the last time we talked about these costs, it was basically you have a COLA, and I know January 1st has passed, so either you go retro or you change that date, but a 2.5% COLA on January 1st, and that is that total. In option 1, we would move them to the grid on January 1st, so moving them basically, into this grid. So they get their COLA and they move into the grid. Then on their anniversary date, if warranted, if they had a step, they would get a step. And that's that 694 thousand is the implementation. So that does not include 496. Now, when I talked with Pat and Carrie and the team, you know, previously the total cost was lower to about 690, maybe 7-ish. But that was because there was no step movement. People were moving into the grid and guaranteed a 2.5% increase, but there was no COLA and there was no additional step. So this cost is going to be higher, but per the board's direction, it is meeting the COLA and the movement into and a step. Are there questions on that or clarifications needed?
Just to clarify, so it's in this option 1, it's 496,059 plus 694?
Yes. That four, yep, because in our process, you would have done the COLA regardless of any implementation. So that's why I think we're here today to discuss option 1, 2, and then we reran another option 3 that would bring it closer to that other amount that you were previously shown. Questions or?
No, I don't have any.
no,
Okay, so in the second one, it's the same COLA on January 1st, but they don't move anywhere into the grid until their anniversary date, and then they would get another step if warranted. And that cost, Commissioner Nelson, would be the 504 plus the 496. So that gives everyone a COLA, it moves them into the grid and gives them a step on their anniversary date. So per the finance committee, like we had talked prior, they had asked that this was what the original looked like to change these percentages between the steps. And so I ran that just to give you what that cost would mean. It doesn't really change your wage range by much because it's a slight change. But as you can see, they start off and then they kind of go slower and then you ramp it up at the end again. But in option 1, it would reduce that 694 to $667,000. again, if they got their COLA, they moved into the grid, and then on their anniversary step, got a step. And then in option 2, it lowers that 504,000 to 482,000. And that's just by changing these percentages, what they were originally proposed, to these. Are there questions or concerns with that?
No, I think it kind of clarifies a little bit more, and we're more interested in see what that final dollar amount would be.
Sure.
Savings, so.
Why is step 6 at 3 still? Was that a typo or?
We could move it. I was just advised to do 3, 4, and 5. So I could definitely change that one too, Commissioner Nelson.
I was just curious. It looks a little odd sticking out.
Sure, I can change that one.
Well, and just for the other commissioners' benefit, I'm going to put you, Finance Committee commissioners, on the spot. You had a logic to this. Explain that maybe to the other commissioners, what your thinking was on just making those changes for those particular steps.
To me, it was to reduce the cost.
So reduce the cost, yeah. But I think also I think you talked a little bit about where you wanted to have increases at what level of where the employee's experience was.
Yeah, basically to start out the first couple of steps and then towards the end again.
Yep.
For retaining, so.
So would the board be comfortable with this section with this second option if I change that step 6 to 2.75?
Well, you could change that over to step 3 if you wanted to. I mean, instead of step.
Swap them.
Yeah, it would look more, if you're trying to award.
Yeah.
So step 3 is 3%. And
Yeah,
step 6 is
275.
Oh, okay. So step 3 would be, okay.
It just, I don't think it looks silly sitting out there all by itself.
Sure.
I agree with that.
So move step 3 to 3% and step 6 to 2.75.
Correct.
Okay. Perfect. And if you tell me an option, I can actually run that number very quickly while we're on the call. So we just have to kind of figure out implementation. So that was the first request of the Finance Committee. And then I showed those costs, so that would change even more. The second one was because of the cost, and I know what you were given before was everyone moves into the grid. It was kind of for an annual cost, so on January 1st, and they're guaranteed at least a 2.5%. That cost was more closer to 690. So what we did is we said, if you provided the 2.5% COLA on January 1st, and then on their anniversary date, just move them into the grid, that would reduce that additional cost to about $202,851 versus at $500, because they're not getting a full step. They're just moving into the grid. So again, that might mean that everyone gets the 2.5%. And when they move into the grid, one individual may get 10 cents, one may get 15. It just depends where their current step is. When they move, everyone benefits, nobody loses money, but they're not getting another full step on top of that. Are there questions or concerns with this option or request from the Finance Committee?
No, I don't have any further questions on that.
Okay.
Just throw some different options out there, I guess.
Sure. And then the third one was originally when we moved people per the classifications that I'm suggesting into the new grid, even with the changes with the percent, you had 62 employees that would be below minimum rate, meaning they come into the grid now at step 1. So even if they were there, let's say 5 years, they're coming in at step 1 because their range was below minimum. There was a request to say we would like to move them an additional step. So what would that cost? In option 1, again, if you gave them a COLA, move them into the grid, and then a step on their anniversary date, that would increase that cost by 27,000. In option 2, where they are getting a COLA and no movement until their anniversary date, it would increase it a little bit more, and that's just because of how they're falling into the grid.
Well, that makes a lot more sense than, remember I asked that question before, and I think Mark said it was going to cost us 600,000. I said, that's not possible. It's not possible. So this is much easier to look at those numbers.
Yeah, and this basically would say in these two scenarios, everyone would at least be at step 3. So do you know what I'm saying? At the end of their anniversary date or movement, there wouldn't be anyone at 1 and there wouldn't be anyone at step 2. So it moves those individuals who were lower to the market to be a little bit more competitive, and reduces any leapfrogging when you have new hires.
And what is that taking into consideration people that maybe have only been here a year? You know, that it doesn't make sense for them to be at step 3.
Sure, I just moved everyone. If you want to like hand pick, then we could go through like the actual, because I basically have a roster. If that's the desire of the board to say, no, if you've only been here 1, you're going to stay at step 2 at the most. I could definitely run that number, but I'm not sure. Let me see. Yeah, I'd have to pull it up. I mean, but that I could definitely run it. It would reduce it slightly, I'm sure. So we could run that scenario.
What did we budget for?
Yeah, we could get to that now. We talked, we had some meetings with the auditor treasurer's office and ran the payroll scenarios, and what we budgeted for early on was, what Dave Drought had put together early on, and we did our best to try to budget effectively. We're doing the analysis now based on the scenarios that were presented, and we had meetings with both Mary and Tanya here late last week and discussed it with Finance Committee also on Friday. In both scenarios, or the scenarios that we're looking at, there's certainly going to be a cost increase, but not significantly, something we can manage. We also have some savings that have occurred because of our insurance situation. As you know, both you and Commissioner Nelson were on the Benefits Committee. There was much lower cost coming in at insurance, and we had budgeted a lot more because we didn't know what to expect at that time. So I think what we're looking, and I'm just going off my memory here, is we're looking at either a reduction, Mary, correct me, about 40,000 in one scenario and maybe 200,000 increase in another. Just going off my memory here. And those are preliminary things. Those aren't exact numbers. They're still running the analysis. So what I can tell you is we do feel that whatever request or option you choose, the budget takes up a good share of it, but there could be another cost investment to that.
And is this something that we could vote today on the grid and then implementation vote? I'm just thinking we have union negotiations and I'm sure they're going to want some input in it. Is that possible?
Yeah, and Tessa, that's what you're looking for, is approval of that grade and those position systems, right, and how they're graded for today?
Yeah. Yep. Nope. I think that's a great place to start. The only thing I don't know, like what you guys have done there already, like did everyone get a 2.5% on January 1st? That would be the only thing you know. Okay.
Anything.
Anything. Okay. So yeah, to your question, all I need is the grid. So I'm going to make those changes, and then the classifications will start, because some may appeal and maybe that grade does change in the end. So the next time I would come back to the board saying we had 10 appeals, here is why they're appealing and here's my recommendation. But that will allow the board then to have some time with internal finance to run those numbers. I don't have a number from finance, like we budgeted $1 million, because then I could get you a scenario to back into. Do you know what I'm saying? Like we could make it work even if we push the implementation date. So I'm just trying to go by what the board asked for, and then B, what I know of what Mark presented, get you a number that's very close to that number.
And if I could, Commissioner Okerson, just to kind of tag on what Commissioner Jepson was asking, we do see, once this gets set, a full kind of presentation overview, and Tessa has agreed to do that for the business managers and for the employees, so they can start understanding the new table and what's expected. And so we do see us doing that once the board has made that decision.
So what we're asking is just to approve the grid and the positions
The grades.
today.
So which grid are we I mean, we have
Yep.
3 grid options.
Nope, there's
Not-
only two. Well, yeah, you're right, there is 3. I would say what I heard from the board is, this is what the grid, sorry.
This is the grid, right?
This is the grid.
This is what the grid looks like,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
it's going to change if I change those percentages, meaning, I think what I heard the board say is they would like this option on the bottom, but it to be 3.25%. Step 3 is 3%, and then step 6 is 2.75%. Is that correct?
Correct.
Yeah, correct.
Okay, so I would just recalibrate that with, those costs too, because that would help the board in the next meeting or when they meet with whatever the next steps are for your implementation. I'd have better numbers. And then, this discussion is really to do that, because if we can get classifications and a grid, then we can go through the classification appeal process. If you want jobs written by DDA, we can do those too. If you're fine using the JAQs, that's fine too. And then it allows us to then to move forward on how to implement. I would say if the board is okay with the 3 kind of options I gave, then we'll have 3 different, I'm going to say, budget numbers for you, working with the finance team there. And the option 1 would mean 2.5% COLA, move into the grid, an anniversary step on the anniversary date. Option 2 is 2.5% COLA, move into the grid and a step on your anniversary date. And option 3 would be you get a 2.5% COLA, and then on your anniversary date, you move into the grid. No anniversary step. Is that what the board's direction is, or is there another option? Are you comfortable with those 3?
No, Tess, I think that would give us pretty good options. Once we get the dollar figures for each one, we can hash it out a little more.
Yep, and then I think to your commissioner, to your ask about moving those, employees that were under minimum, if we move them to step 3 based on tenure, once we kind of figure out what the budget is, and we can tweak it a little bit more for implementation, and then finalize all of that into details. Like if you've only been here 1 year, you're going to be placed at the nearest. If you've been here, whatever that is, setting those identifiers as how we're going to implement it, and then kind of finalize that report like Pat mentioned.
Okay.
Mr. Chair, I have one comment on if we do option 3, I would like a scenario, if we look at option 3, that that any employee below the minimum would at least get the minimum, even if we delay that going into that scale or the grid.
They would, yep, okay.
So if we're delaying going into the grid, until anniversary, if you're below the minimum, I think we should go to the min. I mean, I think
At least go
to the minimum January 1.
Sure.
Okay, getting back, I guess Tess is looking for is a motion to approve the grid, and probably that bottom option there as far as the step increases. Somebody want to?
I'll make a motion to approve the grid and
the
classifications.
I'll second that.
I have a question. Is it just the grid and then the steps, or is it the classification too?
The classification
and the grid.
The steps, what do you mean the steps?
This is the.
Well, the steps are the 3 amount.
This is the grid, but with those.
But you also mentioned classifications.
Which are the grades.
So
That means this part of it, Commissioner Nelson, where the positions fall in, because.
Yeah, I'm aware of it. I'm just making sure that that's the intent and that's what you want.
Yes.
Yes.
Because I have a couple questions on the classifications, but that will be settled through the appeals process, you feel?
Sure, otherwise, if you have them today and you want to discuss that, that's fine too. The board kind of, I mean, this is basically my proposed classifications. Then we'll have an appeal process, but if there's something glaring that you're like, I don't agree with this, then I will relook at it and, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I would like that conversation. I'll just maybe touch base with you or on an email or something.
I brought up a couple of positions too, and that can, I guess, be addressed probably after the employees do see it. And probably just work things out prior to.
Sure.
the
Yeah, if you have
accepting
any
everything.
like suggestions or concerns or questions, you know, send them. I don't know if you have mine, but you could send them to like Pat and Carrie, and I'd have like a board kind of summary. And then when I'm going through the appeal process, we'll kind of marry the two together to say, here was the original, here are the appeals, and or after further review, any changes.
Okay, and we got a motion and a second. Any other comments, discussion? Hearing none, I'll call the question. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Carried. Thank you.
Thank you, Tessa.
All right, thank you.
Thanks. Thanks. I have one question, clarification. Okay, even the 2.5% COLA has to be approved by the bargaining units before move forward on that, or?
No, the wage table, we have not started bargaining unit negotiations, so what you're approving on the wage table is what you're approving. The bargaining units can collectively bargain whatever they like. So you're approving the table right now.
Yeah, what I was getting at, you know, and that could take a while before we meet settle with the bargaining units. I'd entertain a motion to at least give our non-union people the 2.5% COLA starting January 1.
You would have that ability to do that, true.
Instead of waiting till all the unions. So.
I think historically we haven't done it that way though, right? I mean, the non-union get it when all the contracts are settled, because who knows where it's going to land.
So that could be several more months down the road even before that. And the non-union people do not come under bargaining, and then they should, why are we holding them up?
Well, I can tell you just my brief experience here with how the county has done it historically is you've wanted to keep everything the same, whether you're bargaining or non-bargaining. I would tell you in other counties, it's non-bargaining units are this, and whatever bargaining units negotiate are this, that the board approves. And you hope they all start at January 1, but many times they don't. But in many counties, the non-bargaining units, because it was set early, they start on January 1. But it's your decision on how you guys want to do that. But there's a history there of trying to keep it the same. Yeah.
That's correct, it has been, but it seems like our negotiations keep carrying out. Could be late summer before anything's approved. Hopefully by then. So, that's my thoughts. Why hold up on non-union bargaining unit employees?
What historically, why has it been done that way?
Because we always pay the same.
Yeah, basically it's always paid the same. So
I would support waiting till we're done.
Okay.
I mean, they're going to get that back. I mean, it's going to be retro.
Yeah.
So it's not that there's any loss of income. It's just a late.
Okay, I'm fine with that. Anything else before the board? Hearing none, we're adjourned. Thank you.